Well, good morning. It is great to have you all here today. And we're talking about inspiring great organizational morale today. And I wanted to start off this morning with a story from one of my friends that I talked to last night on the phone. He's a bachelor guy and he hadn't gotten his supper. So he said, well, I had to venture out a little bit late around 7:30 last night to try to find something to eat. And he went by an Arby's and he got up to the drive-through and there was a piece of paper taped to the speaker that said, due to the lack of employees, we had to close. In other words, we don't have enough people to run the hours that we normally run. So he said, wow, I can't get anything to eat here. I guess I'll drive over to Chick-fil-A. So he took off and drove over to Chick-fil-A and found the line lined up into the road all the way around. And it was moving pretty quick, but he said, wow, what a contrast. So he gets up to the window where he gets his food and he takes his drink and they didn't cause the problem. He caused the problem and spilled his drink inside of his car. And he said immediately there were 2 or 3 people from the store that came to his car with napkins and started to help him to clean up the car. Another person brought him another drink, free drink, to replace that. They were apologizing even though they hadn't caused the problem. And here's the point of the story this morning. Isn't it amazing that we've got one place that right now, because of the situation, can't find enough people to stay and work. And we've got another place that has so many people working there and are so responsive that as soon as the customer has a problem in a very busy store, 2 or 3 people are there to help him and make him feel great, even though he just had a terrible accident. And I just think the contrast there really speaks to our subject this morning, is that how do you create an organization that has a great morale? So that's what we're going to be looking at this morning. And I am Dave Beam, your trainer. I think everybody we've got online knows me. I'm married to Connie, 35 years, just a beautiful woman, a wonderful marriage. I am the granddaddy of all granddaddies. I work hard at that. And I love to play my Tyros 5 keyboard. I'm a music lover, especially 40s and 30s and 40s music, the old big band music. I just love that and can play it for myself. I'm the owner of my own company, Beam Business Services, been helping people for over 18 years in this role as mentor and coach. I am a trainer and a speaker as well. I'm a biblical counselor. I help people with marriage issues and personal issues. And also, I have a passion to help people. That's really what ties all those things together. So we're going to talk about organizational morale. And I always set some rules of the game. If you've come to any of our past Hour of Powers or events through the years, you know this is where we always start. I think it's the cornerstone and the foundation. It's some simple agreements that you're going to make with me today. The first agreement is you're going to agree to get the most out of today. These are the rules you're going to agree to. You're going to agree to embrace an ownership mindset. If you have morale issues in your business, you may be the owner, you may be the leader, you may be a section leader or a supervisor, you may just be an employee. I'm going to ask you to stand up and take ownership. Don't be a victim to a difficult organization where the morale is not good. Look at it not as a problem, but as a challenge, as an opportunity. If we've got some problems, here's an opportunity where we can really make it great. And so I'm asking you to step up and embrace ownership, own the situation, and choose to do something about it. Secondly, 100% participation. You know, all of us want to step back sometimes. All of us get discouraged from time to time. All of us fail to participate 100%. Sometimes we give up, we get discouraged. Morale in an organization is about, what do we do with discouraged people? What do we do with people that are not participating? We need to encourage them to participate. We need to confront them to participate. We need to hold them accountable to participate with a smile on our face, with a kindness and a love in our hearts. We need to say, what you get out of things is what you put into things. An owner will participate and drop their I know. Now, this is where I'm really going to be challenging you today. You all are coming into this probably with some experience, probably with some knowledge, probably with some great abilities to work on some of these issues that we're going to talk about. I'm going to ask for your agreement to set aside all of that experience and that knowledge for right now, and just to come in curious. If you come in with an empty glass, it can be filled all the way to the brim. If you come in with a full glass, there's no room for anything else. That's just a mindset. Am I coming in believing I can learn a lot today, that I can change today, that I can start over today? Or am I coming in thinking I pretty much got this, same old, just some platitudes? I'm challenging you to take a few deep breaths right now with me and exhale all of what you know and inhale an empty glass open to learning today. And finally, let's have some fun. You know, I think one of the things that characterize an organization that has a great morale is fun. I think fun is a choice. I think fun is really serious business. I think fun is often difficult to have in the workplace because we've got a lot of responsibility, a lot of rules to follow, a lot of things to get done, and sometimes it's really hard to have fun. As a leader in your organization, and by the way, I count you a leader because you're on this program today. I count you as a leader because you want to make a difference. You can choose to smile. You can choose to lighten it up. You can choose to be Dean Koontz, the famous novelist, who says, sometimes I take myself too seriously and I have to put on a pair of bunny slippers to lighten it up. Because, my friends, when you are happy, when you are joyful, when you're having fun, a whole lot more of good stuff gets done. I'm being pragmatic about it. I think we all want to feel good and be happy and have fun. But you know what? It's also more efficient. It also is more effective. It also gets more done. And as a leader and an influencer in your organization, you can set a tone of fun. And I'm certainly going to take the responsibility to have some fun with you today. I am so glad to see all of you here today. So let's talk about a definition. Now we're going to get really scholastic here. How would you define morale? I'm going to give you more of a dictionary type definition just to kind of get our brains thinking this morning. But here it is. Morale describes the level of favorable or unfavorable attitudes which the members of an organization develop and adapt towards the organization, its members, its purpose, and its leaders. So I'm going to give you a minute here to kind of absorb that definition and give yourself a little bit of an evaluation. You know, as a coach, we do evaluations. When you look at your organization, would you say overall it has a favorable or an unfavorable attitude? Just the feel. And specifically, how do the people and the team in your organization feel towards, what's their attitude towards the organization itself? Do they have a pride in your organization, or are they not really proud of where they work? How about their team members, the people they work with? How do they feel? What's their attitude towards them? How about the mission and the purpose of your organization? The people in your organization have a passion for your why and for what you're doing. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then how about the leadership, the management, the ownership of the organization? Is there a favorable or an unfavorable attitude there? These are the things we're talking about today. When we define morale, when I define morale today, I'm going with that definition. If we have a favorable morale, if we have an upbeat morale, if we have a positive morale, what issues are going to be affected at your workplace? Now, my friends, I want you to really absorb this. I want you to get rid of that I know right now, and I want you to really think about each of these things. If we had a secret sauce that could address each of these issues in our business, what difference would it make? I'm going to say this, and I think you're going to agree with me. This is common sense. If you have great attitudes, you're going to have better attendance. People are going to want to come to work. You're going to have greater performance. Not only are people going to show up, they're going to do a better job. You're going to have more teamwork. You're going to have people synergizing. That word synergy is an interesting word. It's the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. It's those horses in the Anheuser-Busch commercial that pull that cart, that together those horses can pull a whole lot more weight than they can on their own. In other words, if each horse could pull 1,000 pounds, 6 horses can pull more than 6,000 pounds. They can pull like 10,000 pounds together. Together we achieve more. Together, when your people get together, they're going to do more. When there's a great morale, people work together. They work in sync. They work for other people's benefits other than just their own. An overall happiness and the spirit of the organization is lifted when people have a great attitude. Again, performance goes up as well as productivity. You get more quality work done, you get more work done. The employee turnover, that's one issue that I hear probably on a weekly basis from all the folks I talk to. Dave, how do we reduce the amount of people that are leaving our business? We get great people, but they don't stay. Well, I'm going to tell you that great people stay in a great business. Great people like to work with other great people. And you as a leader and you as managers develop, you are setting this morale, you are creating this morale, you are responsible ultimately for this morale. And if you don't want good people and great people leaving your organization, you need to have a good, great organization. Why would a good, great person want to work at your organization? I think again of the Arby's and the Chick-fil-A example. Why can't Arby's, in this particular case, find people to work, and another restaurant over here who does fast food, still the same work, have an abundance of people late at night ready to serve? What's the difference? Workplace stress. Now, if you've been around me much, you know that I'm not a proponent of no stress at all. I call that death. I think a little bit of stress, and in fact, the right kind of positive stress is a good thing. I think we need to be challenged and out of our comfort zone. And when you quit working hard and you quit working towards, and you lose purpose and meaning, and a little bit of stress of trying to achieve, that you start to die. You're either growing or you're dying. And growing things are stressed. There's a degree of stress that's healthy. But I'm talking about that unhealthy burnout stress. If you're in a group of people with a bad attitude, it just brings you down. It just stresses you out. And I'm saying great morale reduces that negative workplace stress. And finally, the ultimate thing about morale that is so amazing is the customer focus and service soars. You know, the happiest people are the people that are giving. The happiest people are the people that aren't focused on themselves by them alone, but they're also focused on others. The happiest people are the people who are giving. In the words of the scripture, it's more blessed to give than to receive. It brings a smile to your face when you can really take care of somebody and help somebody. And when we've got a group of people with a great morale, they have a great morale because they're there with a focus on the mission to take care of others. That's what we're talking about today. So I want to look first of all here at the foundation. What is the foundation of a great business morale, a great business attitude? I have 3 pillars here. The first one is calling, defined and communicated. This may be a bit convicting for you today if you're taking some notes. If you come across something here, you're saying, we don't do really well at that, just make a note of it. It's something to work on. What is your calling as a business? How do you define your vision, your mission, your purpose, and your why? Have you got that written down somewhere? Have you got it written in such a way that it's inspiring and that it captures the truth of who you really are? Think about if you're a small business back when that business started, or think about your first day at work if you joined that nonprofit or that organization. That why, that excitement, that thing about the organization that captured your heart, that reason that you stay around even when it's a little tough, that calling. My question for you, this is one of the pillars of a great morale in an organization. Do you have a defined and communicated calling? A clear why of the organization. Simon Sinek, as you can look on YouTube, Simon Sinek, he talks about the why, the why we do things, the why of our products, the why of our organization, the why of our team. If you get that really clear, what if you sat down with some of your key people and said, why are we here? What would you say is the heart and the soul of this organization? What is its mission? Where are we going? What is its vision? Why are we in business? What is our purpose? That clear calling. Second pillar, values. If there's one thing that I've seen as a coach over the last 18 years working with organizations, I've seen this at least 4 examples that I can come to mind right away. When the organization gets really clear on their values, they get really clear on their non-negotiables, their DNA, the attitudes and things that really make them who they are and what they celebrate and what they believe in. When those things are identified, if they're put into words and they're posted and they're communicated and they're practiced, guess what? That's when you have great morale. When people have a heart and a soul that's shared. One of the companies I work with, their number one, it's a bank, their number one core value is all in. And when I talk to those key people in that organization and talk about what it means to be all in, they can articulate that. Now, they're not quoting something hanging on a wall. They're speaking from the heart about this is what's important to us. Customer first is another core value that's a number one core value. We talked about this last month, but they talk about their customers and their patients. They're a medical organization and how important that is to them. And that's what drives them. And that's what their focus is. So my question for you, in your organization, what are the shared core values, the non-negotiables? We mean things that you would never say are acceptable if you don't do them. I've seen organizations that put kindness at the top of that list. They are absolutely committed to always being kind to everyone. In other words, they hire by that, they fire by that, they reprimand by that, they have conversations and discipline about that, because it is unacceptable in their organization for a person not to be kind to another human being. The only question I have for you today on this is, what are your core values? Could you tell me what the top 3 values of your organization are? If not, there's a real opportunity to build another one of those pillars. And the third is culture. Culture is probably the bigger term. It's the overall term. It's the shared meaning, belief, and understanding about life and about business and about all those other things we've talked about, calling and values. It kind of brings them all together. Here's my question for you on the third pillar. Does your organization regularly celebrate the culture? Do you really celebrate who you all are? Do you high five? Do you have meetings where you talk to each other about that? Do you celebrate the blessings and the joys and the fun that you have? I talked to somebody in an organization the other day, a nonprofit, that they're all coming back from COVID. And this lady is the director. And what she did is she went out and got some donuts. And she brought some donuts in, and she just invited people down. There were like 10 or 12 people coming back that day. And she said, if you've got a moment this morning to come down, I'd like to meet with you if you can make it. If you're really busy, that's okay. She said, so in other words, she made it optional, and everybody came. And she said they came in and she gave out donuts, and she turned on a little bit of the old 50s, 60s music, and they had a little bit of a dance, and they celebrated the fact that they were back at work. They were happy to be back together. That's what I mean about celebrating culture. You're saying, Dave, this stuff sounds awful schmaltzy and touchy-feely. Folks, go back to the slide before and look at all the things that change when the attitude of the organization changes. And you might take all this fun, fluffy stuff a little more seriously. Okay, now the meat of the presentation this morning. We're going to look at 5 morale boosters and the opposite busters. So this is a way for you to kind of do a little evaluation on your organization again and say, do we have these boosters in place, or do we have the buster going on, or do we have a little bit of both? And so I'm going to just just get ready for the fire hydrant. Here it comes. We're going to really pour out the information here. We're going to talk about booster and buster number 1. Booster is having clear communication, and the buster is having confusion. Let's talk about communication. How safe is it to be openly transparent in your organization? Do we welcome people's comments? Do they feel safe to share what they're thinking and feeling? Isn't that interesting? I have something called the ladder of communication. At the top of the ladder is results. At the bottom of the ladder is myths and stories. How do we move from gossip, myths, and stories and fear up to a place of celebration, kindness, joy, and real clarity? One way you do it is you have regular meetings. Now, most people don't get excited about meetings because they run them terribly. They just don't manage them and lead them well. I'm just being a coach here and telling you like it is. If I'm going to a meeting where we really engage and solve problems, I can't wait to get to that meeting. But if I go to a meeting where we just rehash the same old, and nobody really manages and directs the meeting, and there's not a clear reason to be there, and there's not a clear start time and a clear end time, then guess what? I'm not too excited about the meeting. My morale tends to waver. I'm saying there is a way to systemize great meetings with a great agenda and a great leadership. Call me. We'll talk about that one. I'd love to tell you more about that. Do we have the kind of communication where we're listening to each other truly to understand each other, not just to fix things? Are we communicating in a timely way? Are we getting back with people, or are people frustrated because they put requests out and they're not hearing back? Do we have a system to get real, truthful feedback from our employees and from our customers? This is all about a clear communication. This is how we boost morale, by having a clear communication. Do we provide training in communication and how to be a better communicator? You know, folks, people come out of all kinds of environments when they come to our place to work, and some of them have never been taught how to have a decent conversation. Many people right now just text and they're electronic and they do social media. That's not really great communication. I think the art of having a great conversation, a one-to-one interaction, is being lost. And that's a great opportunity for us. Do you promote management that is systems-based and objective and fair versus based on the touchy-feely moods of people? We need to let the system be the heavy, not us. We need to attack problems and not people in our communication. So that's booster number 1, is clear communication. The opposite is confusion. I'm just going to read through my list here of what a confusing organization looks like and sounds like. There are unclear expectations running rampant. There's no organized system of meetings, or the meetings go too long or too short and they never get to the point, never have any follow-up, which leads to a lot of suspicious assumption, myth, stories, gossip, complaining, pessimism. That's all confusing communication. There's other dysfunctional communication, includes a lot of people pleasing. We tell people what they want to hear, but we really don't mean it. We're not being honest. The duplicity of that, the behind the back backstabbing, the one-way authoritative communication, bark an order and leave, that leads to all kinds of intimidation and low ownership of others. The lack of clearly communicated systems. Am I bringing your morale down yet? As I talk about these things, when they're present in an organization, this confusion versus a clear communication, it kills the morale. I give this to you today so you can take some of this and think about it and really look at some things that maybe need to be worked on and eliminated from your organization that are bringing the morale down. Let's go to our next one. We've got 5 of them. Number 2, a connected collaboration versus a real disconnected management style. So let's talk a little bit about that. Connection, collaboration. It's a team spirit, it's a sense of community, it's inclusion, it's camaraderie, it's belonging. It's a feeling of caring and compassion and empathy and listening. We're in this together. We're working on things together. We collaborate with each other. I'm not an independent out here that has to do it my way or the highway. I'm somebody who works with others. Now, we're not talking about a wimpy lack of leadership. We have to really make decisions and move forward, and not everybody is always going to agree with what we're doing completely, but we agree that we're going to agree when everybody's heard and we think it through and the leader makes a decision and says, this is what we're going to do. That's what I call collaboration, where we include everybody in the conversation that's relevant, and we listen to everybody fully before we make a decision, especially on important matters, big matters. Concern for individuals' well-being versus being disconnected from people. That shows up in practical ways like a fair compensation and benefits and career opportunities, and the fact that we're concerned about people's quality of life and that they have a reasonable workload. Now, we have seasons where people have to work really hard, but then we give them some rest, a sincere interest in how people think and their well-being. So let's talk about the opposite of that collaborative spirit and connection. It's a disconnected management. And folks, if this is you and if this is going on in your organization, you don't need to worry and fret. You need to get some help. You need to get these folks into a different mindset. Sometimes they're good people, but they don't know how to manage other than the way they've always done it. And I'm going to just call it out now. Managers that bark orders, barky managers. Sometimes they're judgmental workaholics. They work, these are very responsible people in terms of sometimes they work really hard, a lot of long hours, and they have an expectation that everybody else does the same, and a very judgmental attitude towards those who don't. If you want to kill morale, let that kind of management go on. It's the fact that the managers are not connected with their people. Then there's the insecure, independent, self-promoting manager that's just in it for themselves. They don't really connect at a heart level with people. They just use them for their own agenda. Now, another example of a disconnected manager, the incompetent manager that really doesn't know what they're doing. They're really not qualified for the job, or they've lost some of their knowledge and their edge. And what they do when they bark out orders or they try to participate, they create more confusion, more chaos, more silos, more cliques, more gossip, more backbiting. And if you own a business or you have some management responsibilities in a business, and you see a disconnected, incompetent manager, something needs to be done. It needs to be addressed. We need to be having some kind confrontation. And I would love, again, to help you with those conversations. So let's go to our next booster and buster. The next booster that'll boost morale is competence. We're kind of talking about that one. Here's how I define competence in an organization. Each team member has a clearly defined position, and they get that position, they want that position, and they have the capacity to fulfill that position. The managers and the workers have the skills, the knowledge, and the training to do their job effectively and efficiently, and they're accountable to measurable, objective performance standards. You're probably feverishly trying to write all this down. Please put your pencil down and quit doing that. I will send you these notes. So I want you to really sit present with this and just absorb it today. I appreciate it if you're trying to take some notes, and if you want to keep doing that, I sure can't stop you, but I'll send you the notes. I want you to really just take this in and absorb it. Think about at your place of employment. Team members receive a regular, objective, supportive feedback and coaching on their performance, and people follow up and follow through with them on that. Is that what's going on? Folks, if you want a competent organization, if you want to have this booster working in your business, we need to foster and develop competent people that are doing a great job. It isn't just about standing in a circle, holding hands and singing Kumbaya. If you like to do that, I'm not against it, but I'm saying when you really feel good at work, when you have a great attitude at work, it's because the people at work know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, they're being trained and helped to know what to do. The focus in a great organization is on results. It's on the completion of projects and tasks. And the adequate training and resources to get the job done are available. People aren't trying to get something done and don't have the equipment and the tools to get it done. Which leads us to the buster. The morale buster is incompetence. It's where people are thrown into jobs and they don't know what to do. They don't have the knowledge, the skill, or the training, or the resources. It's where they're left on their own and they don't know where to turn. They're kind of scared, or they're out there on their own. And there's no accountability or feedback, except maybe occasionally somebody swoops in, finds them doing something wrong, and barks at them or yells at them or calls them out. Managers don't follow up and follow through. They promise to do things and then they don't follow through. Problems are ignored. There's just a swoop in for some criticism every now and then, but there's no real help or resolution. People are in the team, but they're not producing. So sometimes they're overstaffed. They've got a bunch of people standing around and they don't know what they're doing. So it just looks inefficient. How does that make a person feel when they're working in an organization where there's a lot of people around, but nothing's getting done? That is demoralizing. That brings the morale down. So I'm challenging you to look at that one, competence versus incompetence. Do you think your organization overall has competent people that get, want, and have the capacity to do their job? Or do you have a lot of folks that are lost, confused, and not sure? Or are you somewhere in between? It's another area to assess to see what you could do to make your morale better. Let's go to number 4. A culture of excellence versus a culture of mediocrity. Wow, I love to talk about this, because when you look around, how much excellence do we see in the world today? How much excellence do we see in organizations? Excellence in an organization where excellence is promoted and supported, you will have a better morale. You'll have a good morale. People like to do a great job, and they like to do it in integrity. In other words, they don't feel great about their job because somebody tells them that they're doing a great job. They know they're doing a great job. They have a measurement, they have a standard, and they know they're meeting and exceeding that standard. And that's when people feel great. Personal growth and development are encouraged. In other words, when people make mistakes because they're trying new things, we don't chide them. We cheer them on because they're wanting to get better. And you never get better when you're doing what you know how to do. You get better when you start to work on things that you're learning. A strong work ethic is acknowledged. It's celebrated. We love to see people working hard and being hard workers. We celebrate that. We don't put that down. Things like discipline and grit and determination are rewarded and coached. The organization provides training and coaching and delegation and promotion and career planning to help each person be the best they can be. Now, if we've got an employee over here that's happy in a job and they do a good job and they don't have a huge amount of ambition to move forward, we include them in the team. We're not saying everybody has to be this huge ambitious person that has to get ahead, but we support people who work hard and who carry a good work ethic. That's an excellent service, excellent product. People that love excellence versus the buster, which is mediocrity. Mediocrity is tolerated by a weak leadership, and it results in poor work ethic, workmanship, and products. When people are in a sloppy organization that does a sloppy job, their morale drops. It's where we accept poor results. There's no accountability. There's no requirement for any grit or determination or discipline. Strong work ethic is actually made fun of and laughed at. The organization provides little or no coaching or support or education for self-growth and improvement. There's very little opportunity to learn and progress. There's no clear career path. You get the sense. We're not growing, we're dying. We're putting up and tolerating all kinds of sloppiness and mediocrity and lack of excellence. Now, I'm not talking about perfection, folks. I'm talking about direction. Is the direction of the organization is that we're always moving up. We're trying to improve. We're trying to get better. That's the heart and the soul. That is a great morale. A negative morale is where you're just sitting there struggling and you don't really get ahead and nobody knows what they're doing. You get the idea. And finally, number 5, celebration, a culture of celebration versus a culture of criticism. Celebration. I'm going to give you a definition. I'm going to take this touchy-feely word and give you a real dictionary definition. Celebration is a regular, systematic acknowledgement, gratitude, validation, recognition, and reward for team members' efforts, and a focus on catching people doing things right. Ken Blanchard has a book called Whale Done, W-H-A-L-E, the animal, the big fish, the whale, whale done. It's all about catching people doing things right. If you want to have a great morale in an organization, go out and look for all the great and good things that people are doing. And when you catch them and you see them, you acknowledge it and you celebrate it and you thank them. And you from the heart talk about your gladness and your joy that they're here and they're participating and they're contributing. If we had one team member in an organization that did that, we would change the morale. If we had 5 team members that did that, oh my goodness, what if that was our culture? That we celebrated people doing right things and good things and hard things and tough things and customer service things and challenging things. And we celebrate. What you feed grows, folks. But what is the morale and what is the focus in most organizations? It is criticism. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no such thing as constructive criticism. Now, I get some feedback on that. People don't like it. But let me slow down and take a breath and tell you what I mean by that. The word criticism, if you look it up in the dictionary, you look at its etymology, criticizing, critical thinking, which I think is, we need it, is to analyze and to pick apart and to disassemble. Criticism by its nature is destructive. And what I mean by that is, in order to understand something, you have to take it apart and unravel it. And so when we're dealing with problems, we need to be critical thinkers. We need to be very critical of our problems and our issues. We need people that think logically and start to ask good questions. However, never, ever, ever do we want to do that with each other. I don't want to go in and just pick you apart and pull you apart and nitpick you to death and find every little thing you're doing right or every little thing you're doing wrong. And you feel like you're under this microscope and you're under this vision, you're under this person that's suppressing you and looking and trying to catch you doing things wrong. Folks, that kills morale. It's not that we don't confront people and we don't confront problems and issues, but we do it in a celebration way. We do it in a context of catching people doing things right and redirecting when they're not doing something well. Leaders and managers that are exclusively focusing on underperformance, mistakes, and failures. In other words, they think their job as a boss is to find out what everybody's doing wrong, will kill the team spirit. We need to be looking for team effort, team contribution, and team achievement. The ratio I've heard published is about 5 to 1. 5 times we're celebrating for every 1 time we're criticizing. And we're not criticizing the person, we're criticizing the behavior. I want people to learn how to enroll others into that process. In other words, if I'm an Olympic athlete and I want to earn a gold medal, I want criticism. But I don't want you to attack me. I want you to attack my performance. I want you to attack my golf swing. I want you to attack the way I'm doing my job. I want to attack that myself. I want somebody else to give me some vision of where I can get better. Because we have this culture of excellence, I want to improve. But I don't want to be beat up by you, and I don't want to be put down by you, and I don't want to feel like I'm constantly being critiqued by you. And so how does that work? If I'm going to be the critic, the coach, I want to give permission to point things out and to show people things. And I want to do it very gently, and I want to do it very connected, not disconnected. If you're hearing this, you're getting the sense of how to build a great morale. Let's just go through those one time, and then I've got my last piece here for you today. 5 morale boosters are clear communication, collaboration, competence, excellence, and celebration. The 5 morale busters are confusion, disconnection, incompetence, mediocrity, and criticism. So if you can pull that all together, you can see probably right now, just looking at those 5, what's the shot in the arm that we need right now? What is missing in our organization or weak in our organization? And what do we need to eliminate? I think that list right there will be really helpful. But I'm going to go one more step. I'm going to actually give you, finally here, 6 practices that will build a positive morale. Here's what I would encourage you to do. I want you to listen to each 6 of these and say, is there one of these that I could pick out and actually do? Because I'm always saying this about these power sessions we do. If you walk out of here and you do something with it, you've really succeeded. If you walk out here and you've learned something, you've got the foundation for succeeding. But until you put it into action, it's just a good idea. And good ideas that aren't done can actually turn on you and not be the best thing at all, because we have this illusion, well, I understand the concept, I understand what needs to be done, but if I know to do it and I don't do it, that's really a terrible regret. So I'm going to give you 6 things to choose from. You might want to choose to work on this. You might not have a meaningful mission statement that effectively is communicated to every team member. So right now, I want you to consider, does my organization have a meaningful mission statement? Not just something to paste on the website or to hang up somewhere or put in the front of some book somewhere. I'm talking about a mission statement that your people love, that they say, this is who we are, this is what we're about, this is where we're going, this is our why. So if you don't have that, I think that would be a great first step to do some research, get some help, and create a good mission statement that everybody participates and owns. Second, here's another idea. Here's another practice that'll help build your morale. Identify and articulate your core values, and then infuse them into all your systems and practices as guiding principles for all the decisions and activities in the business. If you don't have those core values clearly stated, and folks, frankly, if you have 10 or 12 of them, that's okay. I'm not going to criticize you, but I will ask a question. Do all your folks know all of them and believe in all of them? Probably not. The human being has a certain capacity. I suggest no more than 5, and 3 would even be better. 3 values that are the core of our organization. Those non-negotiable principles that we're always going to hold on to no matter what we do as an organization. These are the things that we're about. And here they are clearly stated, and we're using them to make decisions: hiring, firing, commendation, employee conversations. They all center around these values. They're very present, they're very visible, and people know them. That's a second thing you can do to build a positive morale. A third thing, regular celebration of your culture. And here's how you go about that. First of all, you have to identify any lack of integrity between what those values are and what your current practices are, and get realigned so that your walk matches your talk. The celebration is in the doing. It's having such a culture of values and mission that everybody's doing that. That's how they work. This is an everyday thing that happens, and we stop and catch people doing things right and celebrate it. How could you do that? How could we make that work at our place of business? That's the question you should be asking. And I'm thinking, if you'll take some time with a yellow pad and a piece of paper in a quiet place, you'll have some sense on what to do. Fourth practice that will help build the morale and raise that feeling and that spirit in your organization is to strengthen the communication. How do you do that practically? You need to establish a robust meeting pulse that connects the whole team. What do I mean by a meeting pulse? Well, what's a pulse? Beat, 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 beat. If your pulse is healthy, it's steady, not too fast, but regular. Your meetings are steady, not too fast, and regular. They start on time, they end on time, and they happen at regular times. And what are we doing at those pulses? Every pulse, we're solving another problem. Every pulse, we're moving forward. It's not just a rehash and a regurgitation of all that's going on. So many meetings I see, people are just blathering about information. They are boring. They bring morale down. How do people leave your meetings is a great question. Do they leave lifted up, or do they leave feeling down? If they're feeling down, that's an indicator that says something needs to change. You need to have crisp agendas with strong leadership and focus that includes everybody in the group. You require an inclusion and a participation of everybody, and a safe place to share so that we can truly build true understanding and collaboration, so that the commitments we have are based on agreed things, not just assuming that we're in agreement because somebody barked something out. And then a strong follow-up. Good communication comes from good coaching, and good coaching is a skill set that needs to be learned. And finally, number 5 and number 6, I'll give you number 5 first. Beginning with yourself and your leaders, sit down and have the conversation. This is another to do. about how you're going to really deal with mediocrity. Are we going to tolerate just being okay? Are we going to tolerate just being average or a little better than average? Are we going to be in denial and really believe we're better than what we are? Or are we going to pursue excellence? And if you're the leader, if you're an influencer, if you've been in that business for a long time, you need to be that change first that you want to see in others. You want to be the model. You want to be the change you want to see. You want to say, where am I not being excellent in my job? Where am I not being excellent in my communication? Where am I not being excellent in my listening, in my communication, in my caring, in my celebration, in my catching other people's doing things right? Like, where can I improve myself and be more excellent so that I can have the platform to encourage others and coach others to be excellent? If you're not walking it, your talk is just more demoralization. Well, they talk a good game, but they don't demonstrate it. And finally, go out today in the rest of your day and go out and catch some people doing some things right and celebrate the good performance. That's something you can do right now, because what you feed grows. If everybody on this call, we've got about 9 or 10 people on this call, they would go back to their organization and look for Waldo. What do I mean by that? How does that little game Where's Waldo works? We would never find Waldo if we weren't looking for Waldo. And if you've seen the game, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever done the little game with children, I Spy, you're driving in the car and you're looking for a certain color of car, or you're looking for a certain kind of car while you're driving down the road. You start to see those and find them because you're looking for them. Go out today and look for people doing great things. They're out there. Go out there and look for a right attitude, for a little extra help, for somebody with a smile, for somebody with a kind word, and go up to them and tell them how much you appreciate that. Catch them doing something right and then have a moment of celebration with them. I'm telling you, you can do that today. And in that moment and at that time, if we develop that habit, we'll start to lift the morale of the organization. So folks, that's what I have today. I want you to take a moment and say, what have I learned from this today? What next steps might I take? And one step you might take is you want to go ahead and email me. I'm going to get all this up so you can get for more information at the bottom. You email me, davebeam@mentordavebeam.com, and I'll not only send you the slides if you want them, more importantly, I'll send you the notes that have all the information that was on the slides. If you want that summary, you just email me. We'll just send that right out to you today, and you'll have that. If you have an organization where you want some help with some of these things, that's what I do. And this is my passion. Coming in and helping organizations with their morale is what I get up every morning and live for. It's what I love to do. And organizations are just people. So I have that passion to help people, and I would love to help you. So if you call me up, we'll get together and we'll talk about how I might be able to help your organization. I would love to do that. In the meantime, we've got more free events. We've got one coming up every month through the rest of the year. You can find those on the website. I have a weekly news article that if you're not receiving that, let me know and we'll get you on the list. There's a library of articles on the website, again, free of charge. Past meetings like this are recorded and on the website free of charge. So again, I give away most of what I do. I'm glad that I'm in a position to do that. Please take advantage of it. And then some folks pay me well to help them. And that's how I'm able to help all these other people, because I'm well taken care of. And by the way, for anybody on the call that's currently paying me, thank you. I appreciate your being my customer and my commitment. You are the top of my list as far as my focus and commitment. So I appreciate you coming in this month. Bring some people with you next month, and we'll talk to you then. So have a good day. Bye-bye.